That morning, the sun was just beginning to rise, spilling gold light through the thin curtains of my small apartment. I was half asleep when I heard the soft creak of the door and the quiet shuffle of footsteps. When I opened my eyes, there she was, standing near the kitchen counter, wearing my old gray shirt and nothing else. It hung loosely on her small frame, almost reaching her knees. Her hair was messy, her eyes red from crying, and she looked lost. For a second, I didn't know what to say. I wanted to smile, to make a joke, to break the silence, but something in her expression stopped me. She wasn't trying to be playful or romantic. She looked scared, fragile, like she had just escaped something that shattered her spirit. She glanced at me, her lips trembling as she whispered, "I didn't have anything else to wear." I nodded slowly, realizing this wasn't about clothes. She wasn't talking about comfort or fashion. She was talking about safety. About wanting to feel protected in something that wasn't hers, but felt like home. My shirt wasn't just fabric to her, it was a shield. I walked toward her carefully, not wanting to frighten her. "It's okay," I said softly. "You can wear it as long as you need." And that was how the morning began. With silence, a cup of coffee, and two people who had been broken in different ways, trying to find comfort in the quiet company of each other. As the days passed, I learned more about her, not through words, but through little moments. The way she flinched when the phone rang. The way she slept curled up on one side of the couch. The way she avoided mirrors, as if she couldn't face her reflection. She told me bits and pieces of her story. About how she'd left home after an argument that turned violent. About the nights she'd spent at bus stations, scared to sleep, scared to move. About how she ended up at my doorstep after our mutual friend told her she could trust me. At first, I didn't know how to handle it. I wasn't used to being someone's safe place. I'd been alone for a long time, living quietly with my own regrets, but when she arrived, everything shifted. I realized that sometimes, people come into your life not because you're ready, but because you're needed. Every morning, she'd sit by the window, wrapped in that same shirt. She said it smelled like peace, like someone who wouldn't hurt her. I didn't correct her or ask her to change. I just let her have that small piece of comfort. We didn't talk much at first. Instead, we shared silence, the kind that feels heavy but healing. I'd cook breakfast, she'd make tea. I'd fix things around the house, and she'd hum softly under her breath, sometimes smiling when she caught me watching. Little by little, her laughter began to return. It was quiet at first, hesitant, but it was there. One morning, she looked up from her cup of tea and said, "You know, I feel like I can breathe here." I didn't realize how much those words would mean to me. Weeks passed, and she started leaving the house again, small steps at first. A walk to the corner store, a visit to the park. I could see the light returning to her eyes. One afternoon, I found her sitting on the porch, sketching in an old notebook. The sunlight danced across her hair as she smiled at something she was drawing. When I looked closer, I saw she had drawn my shirt, not the shirt itself, but the way it draped, the folds, the way it looked when she wore it. "I draw things that make me feel safe," she said, noticing my curiosity. "Your shirt reminds me that kindness still exists." That line hit me harder than I expected. Kindness still exists. In a world where people hurt each other so easily, where words can wound deeper than weapons, she still believed in kindness because someone gave her a shirt and a place to rest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how simple acts can mean everything. A shirt, a warm meal, a safe room, things that most people take for granted, but for someone who's been through darkness, those things are lifelines. And I realized something about myself too. I'd been hiding from the world, keeping my distance to avoid getting hurt. But she, in her quiet, broken, beautiful way, had reminded me what it meant to care again. Months later, things had changed. She found a small job at a nearby art studio, and her laughter filled the apartment like music. She still wore my shirt sometimes, even when she had plenty of clothes of her own. It wasn't about needing it anymore, it was about remembering where she began to heal. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the buildings, she handed me a small wrapped box. "Don't open it until I leave," she said with a smile. She was moving into her own place the next morning, something she'd worked hard for. It was bittersweet. I was proud of her, but I knew I'd miss her presence, her quiet hums, her warmth, the gentle sound of her laughter. After she left, I opened the box. Inside was a neatly folded gray shirt, the same one she had worn the day she arrived. On it, she had embroidered a small word near the hem, hope. And below that, a note. Greater than you gave me this when I had nothing. You didn't ask questions or expect anything back. You just let me feel safe. I want you to have it back. Not because I don't need it anymore, but because I finally learned how to carry that safety inside me. I sat there for a long time, holding the shirt, thinking about everything we'd been through. That one piece of fabric had seen tears, laughter, healing, and now, it was a symbol of strength. Sometimes, life brings people together not to stay forever, but to help each other heal, to remind each other of the good still left in the world. Years have passed since then. I still keep that shirt in a drawer, folded neatly with the word, hope, facing up. Whenever life feels heavy, I take it out and remember her, the girl who showed up at my door wearing my shirt and nothing else but courage. Because that's what it really was. Not vulnerability, not weakness, courage. It takes courage to trust someone again after being broken. It takes courage to walk into a stranger's home, to ask for help, to start over. And it takes courage to leave when you're ready, to say, I can stand on my own now. That's the lesson she left behind. When I see people walking through storms in their lives, I remember her. I remember how healing doesn't happen in grand gestures or perfect words. It happens in the quiet, in the kindness of strangers, in borrowed shirts, in small acts of warmth that whisper, you're safe here. And that's what I tell people now whenever they feel lost. Greater than sometimes, what saves us isn't love at first sight or some miracle moment. It's simple kindness, a gesture, a smile, a safe space to breathe again. That's how lives change, quietly, gently, through kindness. So, when I say she was wearing my shirt and nothing else, I don't mean it in the way most people would think. What she was really wearing was a story, of pain, courage, and recovery. My shirt was just the beginning of her healing, a symbol of the safety she had finally found.